The audio crackled before the voice settled. Shaky. Low. Whoa. Measured. There's a list, it said. If you're hearing this, I didn't survive. A pause, like someone trying to keep from unraveling. They watched him die. And they said nothing. They let it happen. Somewhere in the background, a train wailed. Not near. Distant. Died. But constant, like a clock ticking towards something final. The screen is dark. Only the voice. Only the confession. I never meant to find it. I was looking for my brother's file. Instead I found names. So many names. The voice exhaled hard, like a sob pressed into silence. If they knew I saw it, they'd come for me. They might already be coming. The tape stopped abruptly. A click. Then, silence. Not the silence of peace, but the silence that follows after something irreversible has been said. Something that can't be unsaid. The silence after the soul slips, and nothing is safe anymore. She hadn't returned to the apartment in over 3 months. The air was stale. The kind that clings to forgotten places and people left behind. Elise stepped in slowly, her eyes scanning the room as though expecting it to scream. She didn't know about the tape. Not yet. All she knew was that her brother had vanished, and the police had stopped asking questions. She opened the windows with shaking hands, letting in a city that had moved on without her. The sunlight cut across the floor, slicing through dust like razors. His favorite jacket was still slung over the armrest. Shoes neatly lined. His life looked paused, not ended. Elise whispered, "This isn't grief. This is waiting." And something about the quiet answered her. The first night back, Elise couldn't sleep. Not with the tape recorder still sitting on his desk, like it had been waiting for her. She didn't press play, not yet. She just sat across from it, eyes locked. The machine might as well have been breathing. Around 3 a.m., she started noticing details. The pages on the corkboard. The map with red threads. Newspaper clippings with silent headlines. None of it made sense until it did. One headline read, "Councilman's death ruled accidental despite witness reports." She blinked. Again. Witness. She tore the article off the board. There was a list scribbled on the back. Names. Numbers. Some crossed out. One circled. Hers. She called the number beside her name. It rang once. Twice. Then, a click. A voice answered, not with a greeting, but a question. "Do you still have it?" Elise froze. "Who is this?" she asked, heart thundering. The voice replied, "If you have the list, they'll come. Burn it, disappear, or you're next." Then, the line went dead. Her hands trembled as she lowered the phone. Something shifted in her mind. Not just fear. A slow realization. This wasn't random. Her brother didn't find the list by accident. And she wasn't listed by mistake. She was part of something. And now she had to decide, run, or dig deeper. Elise didn't sleep the next night either. She couldn't. She finally pressed play on the tape. His voice cracked through the silence. Every word was a tremor. A warning. A plea. "If you're listening, I didn't make it out." She paused it midway and stared at the list. Every name felt like a ghost in the room. And then something clicked, literally. A soft mechanical sound from inside the wall. Elise turned, pulled the bookcase aside. A hidden compartment. Inside, photos. Surveillance stills. A burned envelope. A flash drive. She opened the folder. Her hands shook harder than ever before. The first photo, her brother. Meeting with the councilman. 2 weeks before the murder. Elise stayed on the floor until morning, knees aching, the flash drive still clutched in her palm, like it might vanish. She hadn't even looked at what was on it yet. She wasn't sure if she could. Outside, the city woke up. Horns, footsteps, a dog barking. But none of it reached her. Inside, time stood still. Her brother's handwriting on the folder said only one word: insurance. Her fingers hovered over the laptop's trackpad. Breathe in. Click. Dot. The files opened. Images. Surveillance videos. Email threads. Each more damning than the last. It wasn't just about a single murder. This went higher. Deeper. The same names appeared again and again. Senators, lawyers, judges. And next to one of them, the only one circled in red, was a note in her brother's handwriting. He saw me. Elise closed the laptop. The walls felt like they were listening. The next file she opened was a video. Blurry. Grainy. But unmistakable. Her brother, sitting at a diner booth with a man whose face had been in the news just last month. A senator. Clean dent. Charismatic. Dead now. The news said it was a boating accident. The video showed him handing her brother a folded sheet of paper. Both men looked terrified. Not paranoid. Hunted. Elise paused the frame. Her brother's eyes weren't just scared. They were pleading. The timestamp was 3 days before he disappeared. She rewound, frame by frame. In the background, someone stood from a corner table. A figure in black, watching. Walking toward them. The video cut to static. She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for days. She went to the diner. She had to. It was the only thing real in a sea of digital ghosts. The place hadn't changed. Same linoleum floors. Same flickering neon sign outside. She sat in the same booth they'd used, booth 9. The waitress gave her a look. You look just like him, the woman said quietly. Elise stiffened. You knew my brother? The waitress nodded, her eyes cautious. He used to meet someone here, said it was about helping people. Elise's breath caught. Did you ever see who? The waitress hesitated, then whispered, one time, a man in a gray coat. Never ordered, just watched. Elise asked, was he here the day my brother disappeared? The woman nodded again, even slower. Sat right there. She pointed at the corner booth. Empty now. But not forgotten. Elise followed the waitress' gaze to the corner booth, long after the woman had returned behind the counter. She got up. Walked slowly. Sat where the watcher once sat. The view lined up perfectly. Booth 9, fully visible. From this seat, you could watch everything without being seen. Beneath the table, her foot nudged something. A matchbook. She picked it up. Faded. From a hotel across town. It felt wrong. Like it wasn't meant to still be there. Or maybe it was. Maybe someone wanted her to find it. On the inside cover, someone had scrawled a name. J. Roldan. No phone number. Just that. Elise stared at it like it might combust in her hands. Then she heard it. The faint chime above the diner door. Someone had just walked in. She didn't turn around. She waited until the footsteps passed before turning. A delivery guy. Just coffee. She let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. But the moment had already shifted. The air felt colder. The matchbook now weighed more than it should. Elise left the diner fast. On the sidewalk, she looked up the hotel from the matchbook. Still in business. 10 minutes away. She started walking. Fast. The city suddenly felt too loud. Every car, every passerby, a possible threat. At a crosswalk, she looked behind her. A man stood across the street, unmoving. Watching. No phone. No bag. Just a stare. She stepped into the crowd and vanished. Or tried to. She had a name now. A direction. And a list that no longer felt like a mystery, but a death sentence. The hotel was older than she expected. The kind of place with cracked tile floors and a front desk that hadn't seen a computer in years. Elise walked in like she belonged, though her heart thrashed inside her ribs. The name from the matchbook, J. Roldan, didn't appear in the registry. But the clerk didn't even glance at her when she asked. "Room 312, he muttered, sliding a rusted key across the counter like it was nothing. No ID. No questions. Elise took the stairs. The hallway was long, the carpet stained in a dozen forgotten ways. Room 312 sat at the end like a warning. She knocked once. Nothing. Again. Still silence. Then a sound, soft, mechanical, deliberate. A camera lens clicking into place behind the peephole. Elise whispered, "I just want to know what happened to my brother." A pause. Then the door opened a crack. The man inside was thin, older, eyes bloodshot from too many nights awake. He didn't introduce himself, but Elise knew it was Roldan. The room was chaos, paper stacks, old drives, photographs of people in cars, in meetings, in crosshairs. Roldan said, "Your brother tried to get out. He thought if he exposed one piece the rest would fall." Elise asked, "And what happened to him?" Roldan looked away. "Same thing that happens to all of us. He got too close." He handed her a photo. Council chamber. 5 men seated. One circled in red ink. That man ordered it. The murder. And everything after. Elise stared at the face. She knew it. Public figure. A man who shook hands on TV. Roldan whispered, "They made a list of who saw it. Your brother found it. You were on it because he told you the truth once. That was enough." Elise turned the photo over. A date. The same week, her brother vanished. "Why did he go to the council building?" she asked. Roldan pulled out another file. Access logs, keycard entries, timestamps. He thought he could scare them into backing off, show them he had proof. But all it did was put him in a room he couldn't leave. Elise ran her fingers over the log. Her brother's name at the top. No sign-out time. No exit recorded. Her stomach turned. "What about the others on the list?" she asked. Roldan's eyes flicked toward a wall with dozens of faces. Some had red X's. Others were completely blacked out. Elise asked softly, "How many are still alive?" Roldan hesitated. "How? Less than 5, including you." The weight of that sentence pressed down on her. She wasn't chasing the truth anymore. She was surviving it. Roldan opened a hidden drawer beneath the desk and pulled out a battered folder. "This was his," he said. Inside, notes written in her brother's handwriting, frantic, fragmented. "They're watching. Not safe. Trust no one." Each sentence spiraled deeper into desperation. Elise read them aloud, one by one, until she reached the last page. A drawing. Crude. Wall. A diagram, the council building's floor plan, with a back hallway circled. "He marked a blind spot," Roldan said. "No cameras, no eyes. That's where he was taken." Elise stared at it like it might breathe. "He wasn't trying to expose them," she whispered. "He was trying to disappear." Roldan said nothing. He didn't have to. The silence was confirmation. Her brother hadn't died fighting. He died running. And maybe she would too. She left the hotel without another word. No goodbyes. No promises. She didn't trust him, not fully. Maybe not at all. But she needed the map. And she needed to see that hallway. Night had fallen. The city glittered cold and uncaring. Elise walked the perimeter of the council building like a ghost, dressed in black hood pulled low. She found the spot. The back entrance. Exactly as the map showed. No cameras. Just a long corridor framed by silent concrete walls. She stepped in. Her footsteps echoed. Halfway through, she stopped. Something was wrong. It was too clean. Too empty. Then, the hum of a light above. Flickering. Movement behind her. She turned sharply. But the corridor was still empty. She wasn't alone. But whoever was there was better at hiding. Elise backed out of the corridor slowly, careful not to turn her back on the shadows. Her breath echoed louder than her steps. Outside, the streetlights blurred in the corner of her eyes, but she kept her focus inward. She wasn't followed. Not yet. She got in her car, hands shaking. Then she noticed something tucked beneath her windshield wiper. A photo. Glossy. Fresh. Her. I'm the new wannabe one. In the corridor. Tonight. Died. Her blood went cold. Someone had been watching, documenting, just like her brother warned. On the back of the photo, 3 words. Stop or vanish. The message wasn't a warning. It was a guarantee. Elise looked around, every parked car now suspect, every pedestrian a threat. It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was survival. And someone was orchestrating every move. She drove aimlessly for hours. City lights streaked past in a blur. Her hands gripped the wheel so tight, her knuckles ached. The flash drive. The map. All. The folder. She had them all in the glove box. And someone knew. Every lead she'd followed had been just enough to scare her, but not enough to act. That was the pattern. Fear instead of clarity. Confusion instead of answers. And then it hit her. What if it was never about keeping the truth hidden? What if it was about controlling how she found it? A slow drip of evidence, always one step ahead. Someone was curating her discovery. She pulled over, hard tires skidding, breath ragged. They weren't trying to stop her. They were using her. She whispered into the dark. How much of this was real? She returned to the apartment and tore everything apart. The folder, the list, the surveillance photos, and the video, the diner clip. She played it again. Slower this time. Frame by frame. The figure in black rising from the corner booth. She paused. Zoomed in. Not a man. A woman. Tall. Blonde. Blonde. Sharp jaw. Yeah. Then, Elise froze. Her own reflection in the dark window matched the frame. Same build. Same posture. Same coat. Her breath caught in her throat. She looked down at the timestamp again. She was in the diner that day. Not as a bystander. Not unaware. She was the one who stood. Elise whispered, "No, that's not possible." But the camera didn't lie. Somehow, she had been there. And she had forgotten. Her ears rang. Her vision blurred. Elise stumbled back from the desk. She didn't remember being there. Not that day. Not ever. She checked her calendar. Nothing. But a note in her handwriting, a dentist appointment that morning. Same date. She flipped through old journals. Nothing about the diner. Nothing at all that week. Her memories had a hole in them, and someone had filled it with lies. Or worse, removed them. She grabbed her phone and dialed the only person left. Rulden answered on the second ring. "How much of this did you know?" she demanded. Silence. Then he said, "Enough. Did you drug me?" she hissed. "Was I one of you?" Another silence. Then, "You were more than a witness, Elise. You helped cover it up." Her knees buckled. The list wasn't a threat. It was a record. Elise didn't cry. She couldn't. The memory, the real one, came back not in a flood, but in a whisper. Her brother. Panicked. Begging her not to do it. And her, calm. Too calm. Telling him he had no idea what he was risking. That there were bigger things at stake. She remembered the corridor now. Not walking through it, waiting in it. She remembered the sound of the gun. And her own voice, afterward, on the phone. "It's done." Her legs gave out, and she hit the floor. Elise wasn't hunted because she knew the truth. She was hunted because she had helped hide it. Her brother had died trying to stop something she had once agreed to protect. Her scream didn't break the silence. It became part of it. The apartment was too small to hold it. The weight of what she'd done. Elise pulled open every drawer, searching for something she didn't name. Not redemption. Not escape. Maybe just evidence that she hadn't been herself. That someone had made her do it. But there was nothing. No drug records. No hypnosis. Just choice. Memory. And silence. She found the folder Rulden gave her, slid between two books. She flipped it open and finally read it all. Plans. Schedules. Handwritten notes. Hers. She had set the meeting at the diner. She had marked the blind spot. And her brother. He'd only found out too late. Elise whispered, "I killed him." Not with the bullet. Not with her hand. But with the system she upheld. A system that swallowed the innocent and disguised it as necessity. She returned to the council building. Not stealthily this time. Not hidden. Elise walked through the front doors like she had authority. Because once, she did. The receptionist glanced up, confused, but said nothing. A badge was still in her wallet. An old one, inactive now, but enough to stall. She took the elevator to the top floor. The offices of those still in power. She wasn't armed. She didn't need to be. Her weapon was knowledge, and finally, memory. When she stepped into the main hall, a man she remembered all too well stood at the end. Councilman Rennick. One of the original 5 Tertor. She locked eyes with him and said, "We need to talk." He smiled like nothing had ever gone wrong. "We've been expecting you." The door behind him clicked open. She stepped forward anyway. The meeting room was colder than she remembered. Soundproofed. Windowless. Elise stood across from Rennick and 3 others, all older, all polished, all unbothered. She dropped the folder onto the table. "This is everything. The list, the photos, the videos. You think you're still protected?" Rennick opened it slowly, glanced through the contents like browsing a menu. "You were one of us, Elise. We gave you everything. You chose this." Elise snapped. "I chose to believe the lie. I didn't choose to kill my brother." One of the others leaned forward. "He was going to expose us. You stopped him. That made you loyal." Elise's voice cracked. "No, it made me complicit." Rennick smiled, cold and empty. "Same thing." She slammed her palm on the table. "Not anymore. You could still walk away," one of them said, like offering mercy. Elise laughed, a sharp, broken sound. "I've already disappeared once. You don't get to decide who I am now." Her hand reached into her coat, not for a weapon, but a USB drive. "This has already been uploaded. Copies in 5 locations. If I go missing, it goes live." Silence settled like ash. Rennick's jaw tightened. "Then why are you here?" She took a breath. "Because I wanted to see your faces when you realized I'm not afraid anymore." One of the others stood. "We can still fix this." Elise shook her head. "No, you're not fixing anything. You're losing." She turned to leave. And that's when the first gun clicked behind her. She didn't flinch. "Do it," she said without turning. "But you better pray someone finds me before the files do." Another pause. No gunfire. Just quiet. Then, a different click. A phone. Rennick turned his screen to show a blank feed. "Already handled." Elise turned slowly. "Then, I guess we both lose." She pulled out a second drive. "Redundancy. It's a bitch, isn't it?" Before they could respond, she slammed it into the boardroom's central terminal. A video began to play, her brother's final message. "They watched him die." The voice trembled. The men around the table froze. Elise didn't watch it. She walked away. The sound of her brother's voice filled the room behind her. It was too late to silence him now. The video went viral in less than a day. Not on the news. Not officially. But in inboxes. Encrypted drives. Burned DVDs dropped on doorsteps. The kind of thing people deny watching, then can't stop talking about. Elise didn't stay to see the aftermath. She disappeared again, this time by choice. No statements. No interviews. Her brother's voice did all the speaking. The fallout was fast, but surgical. 2 councilmen resigned. One was found dead, suicide they claimed. The others simply vanished, just like the list said they would. Rulden's motel room was cleared out. Not a trace left behind. Elise watched it all from a borrowed laptop in a train station waiting room, surrounded by people who would never know her face. She didn't smile, didn't cry. Justice had a taste. It was metallic, cold, hot, and it didn't last. She traveled under different names now. Hotels, cash, burner phones. Every so often, she checked for signs, updates, stories that disappeared, people asking the right questions too loudly. There were some. Not many. The world didn't change overnight. It didn't even change completely. But it cracked. And that was enough. She kept the original flash drive in a fireproof box, tucked inside a vent behind a gas station off the interstate. No one else knew. Maybe someday, someone would find it again. Or maybe it would die in silence, just like most truths do. Elise never stayed anywhere longer than 2 days. And she never went near a window without curtains. Even truth has a half-life. And hers was still burning. Her brother's grave was in a field with no headstone. A marker. That was it. Just a slab of stone and a number. Unclaimed. Forgotten by design. Elise found it in the county records under John Doe. She stood in front of it as the wind whipped through the grass. "I remember now," she said quietly. "I remember everything." There was no one around. Just sky and earth, and the weight between them. I tried to stop it. At the end, I think I did. But it wasn't enough. She knelt, placing a folded photo beside the marker. The 2 of them as kids, grinning, covered in mud. "You were the only one who told the truth." Her voice cracked. And I made sure they heard it. Then she stood, turned, and walked away, never once looking back. The tape resurfaced 6 weeks later. A news anchor played a fragment during a midnight broadcast, citing anonymous sources. Government officials denied everything. But the footage was out. And people remembered. That was the part no one expected, not the truth, but the memory of it. The idea that someone died to tell it. Elise watched from a gas station TV in the middle of nowhere. The volume was low, but she didn't need to hear it. She knew every word. Outside, rain tapped the roof in a rhythm that almost felt like breathing. She leaned against the counter. The clerk didn't even glance at her. Just another stranger passing through. The screen showed her brother's face. Grainy. Real. Alive in a way she hadn't seen in years. It didn't bring peace. But it did bring permanence. She thought about sending a message to the remaining names on the list. A warning. A call to action. But she didn't. She knew what it cost. Instead, she burned the paper. Slowly. Page by page. One match at a time. On the edge of a cliffside turnout, wind whipping the ashes into the canyon below, she let it all go. The names. The guilt. Even the need for answers. Some things don't resolve. They stain. She stood there until the flames were gone. Until her hands stopped shaking. Until the silence felt earned. Then she picked up her bag and walked down the road alone, no destination in mind. Just movement. Just breath. Just the freedom of having nothing left to hide. The world didn't change. Not really. Politicians still smiled for cameras. Headlines shifted. New scandals replaced old ones. But under the surface, people whispered. About a girl with no name. A list that no one could find. A video that kept appearing in back channels and secure forums, re-uploaded faster than it could be deleted. Elise became a myth. A ghost story. Something kids of whistleblowers told each other like a cautionary tale. But she was real. Somewhere in the static. Somewhere between the servers. somewhere walking down empty highways with no return address. Her brother's voice lingered like a trace frequency, not loud, but always there. She never ran from it, never turned it off. Some truths are too dangerous to bury, and too honest to forget. She found a small town no one cared about, a forgotten place on the edge of nowhere. One diner, one church, no internet. That's where she stayed. For a while, working under a new name, making coffee, washing dishes. She wore long sleeves. She kept to herself, but she listened. Every now and then someone would mention the video, softly, with caution. She never responded, just tucked it away. She watched the world forget her, inch by inch. And yet, at night, when the sky turned dark enough, she'd play his tape again. Not for the evidence, not for the voice, but for the reminder. He believed someone would care enough to hear the truth. And even now, Elise wasn't sure if he was right. But he had to be. A stranger came in one night. Middle-aged. Nervous hands. He ordered coffee but didn't drink it. Just watched her. When she brought the check, he said softly, "You're her, aren't you?" Elise didn't answer. He leaned in. "I saw your brother die. I was on the list." Her heart stopped. Just for a moment. He whispered, "I ran. I've been hiding ever since, but that video, it brought me back." Elise sat across from him without speaking. "They're still out there," he said. "But people are listening now. Because of you." She didn't correct him. She didn't tell him that she had once been one of them. Maybe he already knew. Maybe he didn't care. Either way, for the first time in months, she wasn't alone. They talked until morning. About the list. The names. The others. About how easy it was to disappear when no one wants to find you. He had stories. Files. Fragments. But what he needed more than anything was someone to believe him. Elise did. Even if it hurt. Even if it pulled her back into a life she tried to bury. "We could build something," he said. "Start over. Make it right." She didn't agree. Didn't refuse. Just watched the sunrise bleeding through the window. The kind of light that forgives nothing, but reveals everything. He left her a flash drive before walking out. "In case you change your mind." Elise pocketed it. Not because she would, but because she knew someday someone else might need it. She walked out of the diner just as the town began to stir. Quiet engines. A barking dog. A child's laughter carried on the wind. Elise stepped into the sunlight, the flash drive pressed to her chest. She didn't know what came next. She didn't care. Because the truth was never about endings. It was about presence. Acknowledgement. That someone had lived. That someone had died. That someone had watched. She whispered a final word, one she hadn't spoken in a long time, his name. Micah. And for the first time, it didn't break her. It steadied her. She walked toward the horizon, breath calm, feet sure. Behind her, the past still burned. But in front of her, there was nothing left to hide from.